As of the making of this video, I have been estranged from my mom for 4 years, 3 months, and 29 days. She died about 9 months ago. If I could go back and talk to the version of myself who was contemplating estrangement, here's what I tell her. So the first piece of advice I give myself if I was contemplating estranging from my mom is it's your choice. No one has to live with the consequences of not having your mother in your life but you, and no one has to live with the consequences of having her in your life but you. No one can make a decision better than you. There's no one who knows more, not even her own children. If they're her daughter, if they're her son, they still haven't had the experiences that you've had as her daughter or her son. So the choice is yours. The second piece of advice I give myself is you got to be prepared to cut some people off. There are some people who are not going to understand the dynamics between you and your mom. They're not going to get that you could even get to a point where you could cut her off. Those are people who are gracious enough to possibly have a mother who never has done things to them that your mom has done to you. And for that reason, you might have to end some relationships because some people may not be in support of you, and they might constantly be in your ear telling you things that are honestly just throwing you off track and making you feel guilty and second guess your decision. You need a community of people around you who are going to support the relationships that you need in your life. And if your mom isn't one of them, you need people to be on board with that. So the third thing that I would tell myself if I was thinking about not wanting to talk to my mom and going no contact with her is that you need to put the ball in your mom's court. For years and years, I'm sure you have allowed your mom to sort of manipulate you and make you question whether or not you're the one who is the cause of the reason why your relationship with her is the way it is. But it's time to give her an ultimatum. When I was in this phase, I took my mom to therapy and I laid everything out on the table and gave her an option of whether or not she would want to change. And she showed her tail. And that gave me everything that I needed in order to say, you know what, this is not the best space for me. I no longer want to be in it. You let me know when you want to change. And if that never happens, I guess we'll never be in relationship with each other. So it's time for you to stop carrying the weight of the relationship all on your own, trying to fix things by yourself. It's a two-way street. She has to come up the street with you. The fourth thing I would tell myself if I was in a position to decide whether or not I was going to talk to my mom or not talk to her is that you don't need a mom. You do need a mom to come into this world. However, you don't need one to exist in this world. There are plenty of people walking around that live without their moms, and just because yours is living and breathing doesn't mean that you can't do the same. You actually don't require anything from her. It feels like you do because society puts so much pressure on us to maintain our relationships with our mothers as they age and as they grow, no matter what they do to us. But the reality is, sometimes your mom is not someone who can benefit your life. And if that's the case, you really can do better without her. The fifth thing I would tell myself if I was deciding whether or not to cut my toxic mom off is that you can become your own mom. I know a lot of times we look for role models and we try to promote people into maternal figures and make them our mom when we're in a situation when we don't have one. But the reality is the only person who can mother you outside of your mom is you. You are more than capable of pouring into yourself, of reparenting yourself, of figuring out exactly what you need and giving yourself just that. And honestly, wanting a mom is a lot different from wanting your mom. So you have to contemplate whether or not she's even somebody who can actually help you get to where you want to go. Does she even have the capability to affirm you in the way that you need to be affirmed? Does she possess the maternal characteristics that you need to be soothed and loved? Does she have any of that? So the answer is probably no. And if you're in that situation, you would have to develop some way to stand in the gap anyway. And that person who's supposed to stand in the gap is you. The sixth thing I would tell myself if I was deciding whether or not to keep my mom in my life is do it quick. Cut her off quickly. Tell people instead of asking them. When you get into the nuances of deciding whether or not you want to do this and you're including so many different people and juxtaposing their opinions and deciding what they'll think and how they'll feel, it really gets very murky. So you want to make sure you count your losses quickly and that you are making a decision that's best for yourself and that you notify people on the back end. The seventh thing I would tell myself is there's more on the other side. I have been estranged from my mom for many years. Honestly, I don't even relate to the fact that she passed away. I don't see myself as someone who lost their mom to death. I see myself as someone who lost their mom to estrangement. And after I made that leap to decide that she would not be a part of my life because I knew that my life would be nothing but destruction if that happened, I have not lived a better life. I am secure in my finances. My career is catapulting. My relationships, friendships, all of those are amazing. I'm able to parent my daughters from a space of healthiness and actually change the trajectory of how people mother in my family. I am happy and I couldn't imagine being happier. I want people who have not experienced that to know that what you're holding on to is not really worth it. There's so much more on the other side. And that brings me to number 8. What I'd tell myself if I were in a situation where I was deciding whether or not to keep my mom or to let her go because she's toxic is that it's projection, it's not potential. And what I mean by that is that what you are thinking your mom is capable of is not actually what she's capable of. It's what you're capable of if you were in her position. A lot of times we look at people and we say, they could do this or be that or be better. And the reality is, we're just looking and deciding what we would do. We're expecting of them what we would do if we were in their shoes. So I want you to know that mom that you think your mom is going to be, she's probably not going to become it because it's just you thinking about how you would mother yourself, which takes me back to the point where I said that you can become your own mom. The ninth thing I tell myself if I was deciding whether or not to keep my mom in my life is that this is your only life. You only get to live it one time. Yes, you only get one mom, but you only get one you. And it's time out for you to continue to give her chance after chance. It's time for you to start giving yourself a chance. You've never done that before. You've never gotten to the point where you've decided that, you know what, I am going to be a responsible adult and figure out what I'm going to do if my mom never changes. Instead, you've been in limbo. You've been on a merry-go-round just waiting for her to make the move that you want her to make. And I want to know what would happen if you bet on yourself. So, the 10th and final thing that I would tell myself if I was pre contemplation, hadn't yet decided if I wanted to estrange from my mom, is that I need to accept my reality. My mom is who she's shown me to be. Her changing would take so many steps. It would take so much self awareness, so much mental capacity, so much energy that she's never shown that she actually is willing to exert or even possesses. So, me sitting around waiting is a delusion. I need to accept that she is who she's proven me to be. And even as much as that hurts, it's just the reality. Now, I've seen a lot of people of various ages. I'm a therapist. I've worked with people who are younger than me, I've worked with people who are much older. And those who are older always regret that they didn't stop talking to their mom younger. They regret the life that she was able to steal from them because they spent so much time and energy chasing after the relationship, chasing after the fantasy of love that she could provide them, never giving themselves a chance. These are women who are in their 70s plus that are wishing they could go back and turn back the hands of time and make a different decision. If you're younger, you have the ability to make that decision today, and you need to make it. I want you to look down in the description box below. I have created a worksheet for women who are deciding whether or not they want to cut off their mom. If you are even thinking about that, the answer is probably yes, because so much has happened to even get you to the point where that's even something you're thinking about. That in itself is not a normal course of action. So if you're thinking about that, then I want you to know that probably deep down inside, you know that that's what's best for your life. The worksheet is an internal convictions assessment. It helps you discover what is inside of your heart and your mind, what your thoughts are around the situation. Not thinking about anybody else's opinion, what anyone else will think or feel, what's best for you. I want you to go download it. It's only $1. There are a series of questions that you have to ask yourself when you're making this choice. No one else can answer them. It's you versus you. You have to decide. There you have it. That's what I would tell myself if I were a woman who were deciding whether or not to keep my toxic mom in my life or not. Let me know in the comments below how this helped you, and don't forget to download that worksheet.